This is Samsung's latest phone, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. I've owned this phone for about a month, and these are my thoughts on it. So I am first going to talk about the specs of this phone and kind of the pros of it. First of all, this thing has a huge, amazing battery. It is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Samsung claims that'll give you up to 2 days of battery life. I have noticed in day-to-day use after owning this phone for about a month now, if you're using it for, heavy usage, a lot of phone calls, a lot of social media usage, a lot of games, things like that, yeah, you'll definitely get 2 days of battery life out of it. If you're using it a little bit more on the lighter side, music in the background, or just the phone's kind of sitting there idle, you can definitely expect a good 3 days of battery life out of this thing, which is extremely impressive considering the last Samsung phone I had, which was the Galaxy S21, would barely make it through a day without charging. That phone was pretty old at that point. I think I had it for 3 or 4 years at that point, so this battery, definitely a huge upgrade. Another amazing spec on this phone is the CPU and the RAM. This thing is running a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which is a wickedly fast mobile processor, and it's packing 12 gigabytes of RAM in here as well. So literally, no matter the task you throw at this thing, it can handle it. One of my big enjoyments, I guess, is mobile gaming. When I'm chilling on the couch or something like that, I enjoy playing a little bit of Call of Duty Mobile. I've been able to max out the graphics on this thing, no problem, and it's getting basically the same performance as if you were on the lowest graphics. Like, it literally does not care. So, super incredible processing speed. Along with that, it is nice having a large amount of storage on your phone for big games such as Call of Duty Mobile, or if you do a lot of video editing or Photoshop. This model here is the 256 gigabyte model. They do a 512 gigabyte model as well, and you have a micro SD card slot, which is expandable up to 1 terabyte. So I don't know what you're doing with 1 terabyte of storage on your phone, but this thing can do it. All these specs really don't matter if they don't look nice, and that's where this thing's display comes in. This is a 6.8 inch AMOLED display. Gorgeous display. Deep black colors, really popping bright colors. It just looks amazing when you see it in person. The camera definitely doesn't do it justice. Just a phenomenal display. It looks amazing, and yeah, I absolutely love it. Also, after using this phone for after a month, I've gotten a lot of use out of the camera, which I am absolutely in love with. The main camera on the back of the phone is a 200 megapixel wide resolution camera. You also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 10 megapixel optical zoom, and a new 50 megapixel telephoto lens as well, which has 5 times optical zoom. Amazing camera for taking pictures. It also does 100 times zoom. I'm not sure when I'm ever going to use that. I've only used it to show off to friends like, yo, my phone goes up to 100 times zoom, that's crazy. But actually in a normal day-to-day life, I've never used it. So I feel like that's a little bit of a gimmick, but it does work, and it does work well. But not only does this thing take great photos, it also takes amazing videos as well. The camera on the back will do 8K at 24 or 30 FPS, 4K at 30, 60, and 120 FPS, 1080p at 30, 60, 240, and 960 FPS if you want that insane slow-mo. And boy, does this thing have some really good slow-mo. Plus, this camera is packing HDR, so you get that HDR content. Just a phenomenal camera if you want to film. So this is a video test of the S24 Ultra in 8K 30 FPS. There you guys are right there. And as you can see, yeah, I'm still using a GoPro Hero 3. I know. This thing is incredibly smooth. As you guys can see, it's got amazing stabilization. One thing I do know, these phones have a little gimbal inside of their camera lens, so the stabilization is very smooth. This thing also looks really good in 8K as well. You can also turn on the super steady setting, which I have just turned on now, making it even smoother. I mean, it's just like I'm moving the phone around, shaking it right now. just incredible stabilization. I mean, I'm really shaking the phone back and forth and it still looks really, really smooth. As far as the front-facing camera goes, it is also really amazing quality. It is a 12 megapixel dual pixel selfie camera, whatever that means. But it does really, really look good, and obviously on these new Samsung devices you have all the AI enhancements which make your photos and selfies look just that much better. Also, with the Ultra devices, you get included in the bottom of the phone the S Pen, which has been really, really awesome. I honestly thought I would use the S Pen more than I am. I hardly ever touch it. What I really do enjoy is sometimes when I'm just chilling around doing nothing, there is a coloring app which you can use the S Pen to color, and it is very, very accurate. I would say it's as accurate as a real pen, which is very impressive to me. But that's honestly about the only thing I really use it for. I will use it for the occasional video editing or Photoshop, but most of that stuff I do for YouTube, and so I just end up editing on my laptop anyway, so I don't really use the editing or Photoshop features on this phone a whole lot, but there are quite a lot packed in here. So the S Pen is a cool feature for those if you want to take notes, or when you want to actually write things down. But even for me, if I want to take notes, I end up just typing it in with the keyboard. I don't know, I just think it's easier and faster, and it's easier to read because my handwriting is not that great anyway. But if you have good handwriting or you enjoy coloring and things like that, you have the S Pen. Another thing I've really been enjoying on this phone is the speaker system. It is probably one of the best speakers I've heard on a smartphone. Obviously you have stereo sound, so it also uses the little speaker you use for phone calls to give you stereo sound, which sounds amazing. Honestly, it gives a really nice, rich surround sound vibe when you're watching movies or playing games. And then obviously you have your main speaker on the bottom of the phone. Lots of low end and mids and clear highs. It just sounds really, really good, and it's very impressive for a smartphone speaker because it is a tiny speaker, but it sounds really good and really packs a punch. So moving on to the cons of the S24 Ultra, and honestly, I don't have a lot of complaints about this phone. It's amazing. A lot of people were complaining that this phone isn't much of an upgrade from, say, an S23 Ultra. All they really basically added is AI stuff. But I haven't used the S23 Ultra. Obviously, I'm coming from an S21. And the AI features I find very, very useful. Moving on to the cons of this device, and honestly, I don't have a lot of complaints about this phone. I think it's amazing. I know a lot of people were complaining about it's not really much of an upgrade, say, from like an S23 Ultra. Basically, all they did was add some AI features, which honestly I find very useful. I've been using a lot of the AI features for video, Photoshop, translation stuff, searching stuff. I think they're amazing tools. But yeah, I guess it's not much of an upgrade if you're coming from one of the previous Ultra devices, but if you're coming from, say, a Samsung Galaxy S21 like myself, this thing is a massive, massive upgrade. That being said, there are a couple of cons which I wish were maybe a little different. One of them being this thing is a huge dust collector, especially down here where the S Pen is. I've noticed a lot of dust getting in here, and it almost makes the S Pen feel kind of like crusty when it's sliding in and out. So you definitely want to keep that area clean and have to clean it often. Another area is where the cameras, they bump out of the phone quite far, and so a lot of dust gets around there as well, especially when you have a case on it. Other than that, it's not too bad. I mean, obviously things are going to get dusty when you use them. I personally do construction, so I probably notice a lot more than the average person will see it. But yeah, I'd say my biggest gripe with it is where the S Pen goes in. But other than those two things, I honestly have no complaints about this phone. It's amazing. Obviously you have all your main features like wireless charging. You have your USB Type-C, so this supports Samsung's fast charging. You got 5G, plenty of storage, plenty of RAM, a crap ton of processing power, and overall just an amazing phone. So I would highly recommend this phone if you're willing to shell out the kind of hefty price tag of around like $1,200 or $1,300, unless you have like a trade-in or something like that. It's a little expensive, but again, it's their top-of-the-line flagship device, so it kind of makes sense, in my opinion. So if you're willing to shell out that amount of money, I highly recommend this device. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.